Picture this. You wake up, grab your phone, scroll your feed, and BOOM Kirk Frost, yes, that Kirk Frost, just dropped the kind of receipts that don't just burn bridges, they torch entire freeways. And you're sitting there like, wait a minute. Didn't Kendra just have the internet crying, clutching pearls, and sending her sympathy D-miss? Didn't she sell us the whole I was vulnerable, I was broken, I regret everything package with the deluxe tear-stained delivery? Well, turns out sis may have been less heartbroken angel and more evil genius with unlimited data plan. Because Kirk didn't just clap back with words. Oh no, he came armed with text messages that read like deleted scripts from Scandal. Flirting? Check. Manipulating? Double check. Plotting her little sympathy tour like it was Coachella? Triple check. And if you thought this was just messy reality TV beef, buckle up. Because these leaks didn't just pop up on the blogs, they allegedly landed in court documents. Court. As in? Government stamp, official files, your grandma can look it up. So now the internet's asking the only question that matters, was Kendra ever telling the truth? Or were we all just extras in her villain origin story? Stay with me because this rabbit hole? Oh, it's deep. Let's set the stage because if you have been anywhere near the internet in the last 2 days, you already know Kirk Frost has just turned a story upside down that most people thought was already dead and buried. And what makes it wild is the way he did it, not through some carefully worded PR spin, not through a network exclusive, but through raw screenshots that hit the timeline like dynamite, and suddenly everyone who had been painting Kendra as the tragic victim had to stop mid-sentence and wonder if they had been cheering for the wrong team this whole time, because what those leaks suggested was not heartbreak, it was strategy, and not just messy texting, but manipulation calculated. Almost like she was running a playbook that she had drafted long before the tears ever rolled down her cheeks on television. And the shocking part is this was not out of nowhere, it was a build-up that had been simmering for months ever since Kendra's emotional breakdown on that reunion special, where she claimed she'd been misled and cornered by Kirk, and the audience practically carried her out on their shoulders with sympathy. But in the background, Kirk was sitting on a folder waiting like a chess player with the final move, and when he dropped it, the reaction was instant because the first screenshot was simple enough, a text that read, "Do not worry, I got Kirk." Emotional enough to say, "Sorry, just wait, he will fold," and the words were chilling because they turned what looked like a confession into an audition, and fans were gasping like, wait, what do you mean fold? Was this not spontaneous? Was this staged? And then the second screenshot landed harder once the cameras are on. "I will let the tears fall, these viewers eat it up," and that was the dagger because it ripped away the illusion that Kendra's on-screen pain was authentic and suggested instead that she was choreographing her breakdowns. The way a producer choreographs a scene, and suddenly people who had tweeted protect Kendra at all costs were deleting their posts because nobody wanted to be caught supporting what now looked like a scam. And Kirk did not stop there. The story goes that he had been watching her tour podcast appearances, interviews, magazine spreads, all centered on her victimhood, and he stayed quiet because he still had some shred of guilt for how messy everything had become. But then Rashida, his wife, the one who had been standing in silence, was packing her bags after one too many headlines, and that was when Kirk decided silence was no longer an option. So he posted the black screen on his story with the words, "Y'all ready for the real truth? I was set up," and people thought maybe it was a bluff until the messages started rolling out with timestamps, cropped names, and the unmistakable voice of someone who'd been bragging about playing a long game. And if you thought that was the end, you would be wrong, because the internet thrives on blood. And once those receipts hit the blogs, the narrative mutated overnight from poor Kendra to Kendra exposed, and the hashtags started trending faster than producers could refresh their scripts. But what made this particularly devastating was not just the betrayal of the audience. It was the betrayal of Rashida, who by all accounts had tried to hold her family together quietly while cameras and fans shredded her reputation one think piece at a time. Insiders claim that Kirk sent her a Dropbox link late at night with the chat logs, and she sat there scrolling through messages where the same woman who had sat across from her crying was laughing about how easy it was to spin the public. Rashida threw her phone, screamed into her pillow, and told her assistant cancel everything because she knew if she spoke in that moment, it would be nuclear. And that right there is where the entire scandal began to metastasize into something bigger than gossip, because it was no longer just a messy marriage. It was about premeditated deception, with Kendra writing lines like, "I'm going to make sure the world hates him just like he deserves, and if I gotta fake a tear or two, I will do it, and those words broke whatever illusion of innocence she had left, because it was not just about revenge. It was about building a brand on tears and playing chess with reputations, and Kirk, of all people, became the whistleblower. The man who had been painted as the villain now looked like the only one willing to share receipts, and the fans flipped because while nobody believes Kirk is an angel, these leaks made Kendra look like the architect of her own tragedy and worse, the puppet master of everyone else's public image. What followed was chaos because producers realized this storyline was more explosive than anything they had shot so far. Bloggers scrambled to repost screen grabs. Twitter detectives began piecing together timelines, comparing outfits and leaked photos to figure out when exactly Kendra had sent certain texts, and the threads went viral with thousands of comments arguing over whether this was genuine or fabricated. But the voice note sealed it. At midnight, Kirk dropped an audio clip, raw and unfiltered, Kendra's voice cold, saying he thinks he has control, but once I get the audience, I will make him the villain, and Rashida, please, she will break before I do. And hearing her voice removed all doubt, fans were shocked not just at the malice, but at the confidence, like she knew exactly what she was doing from the start, and the internet turned on her in real time. Kendra's social accounts went silent. No new posts, no lives, no likes, and silence on the internet is louder than screaming, because when someone who has been oversharing suddenly disappears, everyone knows the storm is real. And while fans dissected every syllable, Rashida dropped her own cryptic post, a black screen with the words, "Do not cry for the woman you saw on TV. She does not exist anymore," and that was the shot that signaled she was done playing victim and ready to reclaim her image. And if you thought that meant the end of the scandal, you would be wrong, because behind the scenes, insiders whispered about more leaks, about producer collusion, and about how deep this manipulation went. And the sense on the timeline was unanimous. This was no longer reality TV drama. This was reality weaponized, and Kirk Frost had just lit the fuse. The fallout was immediate and merciless, because once those voice notes and screenshots began circulating, the internet transformed into a battlefield where sides were chosen in seconds, and sympathy evaporated like smoke in a storm. The same blogs that had crowned Kendra the face of survival now plastered her images with captions like mastermind or manipulator in comment sections, filled with disbelief, confusion, and even betrayal. Fans who had written essays defending her now confessed they felt duped, that they had cried real tears for staged ones, and the betrayal was not just public, it was personal, because Rashida, who had stood silent through months of humiliation, finally realized she had not just been cheated on, she'd been mocked in private texts that reduced her to nothing more than the legal wife, while Kendra gloated about being in Kirk's head. And that is the kind of humiliation no spouse forgets. Insiders whispered that Rashida, after seeing those receipts, walked through her mansion like a ghost before exploding in fury, throwing her phone against the wall and screaming until her throat gave out. And then she went quiet, too quiet, which is always a dangerous thing, because quiet rage brews into strategy. And if Kirk was lighting the fuse, Rashida was already planning where the fire would spread. But Kendra, the woman at the center of it all, disappeared completely. Her silence, not a dignified retreat, but an absence so loud it was deafening, because everyone knew she was online, lurking, watching the chaos, but refusing to speak. While the storm escalated without her control, and in her absence, the public began rewriting the storyline in real-time. Twitter threads broke down inconsistencies in her earlier confessions, pointing out that her so-called timeline of heartbreak did not match the dates in the leaked messages. Screenshots showed her plotting before she even confronted Kirk, which suggested the tears were less an emotional reaction and more a rehearsed performance. And then came the burner account. KF leaked with no picture, no bio, just pure fire, dropping screen recordings instead of cropped screenshots, entire scrolls of message threads where Kendra allegedly plotted with the producer about staging the confrontation on camera weeks in advance, instructing them to start soft and then push for the gas so she could land the sympathy wave. And those recordings had the kind of detail you cannot fake. Dates matched the shooting schedule. Her typos were consistent, the coldness of her tone was unmistakable, and fans were floored. Because this was no longer he said, she said. This was premeditation with receipts. One former assistant even commented under a gossip blog post, "Y'all have no idea what that woman put Rashida through. She was never a victim, she played everyone, including the network," before quickly deleting the comment. But the internet never sleeps, and screenshots live forever, so the damage was done and the snowball kept rolling, because Kirk, now emboldened by the shift in public opinion, started getting calls from bloggers, from lawyers, from brands who had distanced themselves when he was painted as the monster now begging for his side of the story. One blog even offered him $40,000 for a sit-down, but according to insiders, Kirk declined, because this was not about money, it was about vengeance, about reclaiming dignity. After watching Rashida pack her bags and hearing the world call him a predator, he wanted Kendra's empire of lies to crumble, and with each leak it did. YouTubers jumped in, producing breakdown videos with millions of views titled Kendra Reality TV's Smartest Snake, dissecting old footage frame by frame, pointing out smirks, glances, and hot mic whispers that now looked sinister in hindsight. Every episode was rewatched with suspicion, every tier reevaluated. Fans became detectives, meme pages became archives, and the entire scandal transformed into a collective investigation into just how deep the deception went. And then the internet went nuclear when Kirk released a voicemail of Kendra's voice taunting, "I will make him the villain, and Rashida, please, she will break before I do." The cruelty in those words was undeniable, and the internet shifted permanently. Kendra, who had been trending as the face of betrayal, now trended as the villain. Rashida, the woman who had kept quiet, rose as the unexpected hero, and Kirk, strangely enough, found himself in the middle, holding both the gasoline and the match. And yet the story did not stall, because just as the dust seemed to settle, Erica Mena and Mendices entered the crossfire with their own set of leaks, throwing gasoline on a fire that was already out of control. And that collision of scandals proved that nothing in this universe happens in isolation. Everything is connected, and every secret has a receipt waiting to be dropped. By the time the third wave of leaks hit the internet, the entire narrative had become something bigger than just messy relationships. It had transformed into a public reckoning about who was controlling the story and who is being played. And the shocking reality was that no one looked clean anymore, because as much as Kendra's words and her plotting made her appear like the mastermind, Kirk's own behavior was now under the microscope as well, since the emails surfaced showing him in private communication with producers, discussing edits and camera angles, and even dropping the line, "Rashida must never know what we cut," which flipped the sympathy meter back again, because suddenly the supposed whistleblower looked like a man who was also in on shaping the narrative until it turned against him. And that is when fans realized this entire circle was not a tragedy, it was a production, where every player thought they were smarter than the other, and the only true victims were the people at home who believed the performance was genuine. Rashida, however, was no longer content with silence. She posted that single photo of herself holding a lighter to her old wedding dress, a picture worth more than any press statement, because it screamed, "I am done," and it screamed it loudly enough that blogs, fans, and even the network took it as a declaration of war. Insiders claimed that VH1 scrambled into emergency meetings, calling in lawyers to review contracts, because if both Kirk and Kendra were leaking unaired footage and private production chats, it could mean a breach worth millions. And the legal team was already drafting letters while the producers rubbed their hands, knowing that chaos translates into ratings. But even they were not prepared for the voicemail that surfaced of Kirk, drunk and broken, confessing to Kendra, "You played me, maybe I deserved it, maybe I did not, but you won, just leave Rashida out of it." And those words painted him not as a pure whistleblower, but as a man who had been complicit until the game cut too deep. And that nuance only made the scandal hotter, because fans stopped looking for a hero and started realizing that every single one of them had dirty hands. YouTube analysts called it reality TV's Watergate. TikTokers made timelines of who lied first, and gossip pages turned into battlegrounds of clashing opinions. Was Kendra the ultimate puppet master, or was Kirk just as manipulative, and Rashida simply caught in the crossfire of two egos who wanted to own the story? And while the arguments raged online, Kendra finally resurfaced, going live from a dimly lit room, hoodie up, face bare, eyes red, whispering that she never meant for it to go this far, that she was only trying to be believed. But the audience was not buying it, because the receipts were too heavy and the voice notes too damning, and the chat lit up with accusations about acting classes and fake tears. And then she dropped a line that froze everyone. "If Kirk wants war, fine, I got messages too." And they do not paint him as a victim either. And with that, the cold realization hit that this saga was not near its end, it was only escalating, because minutes later, another anonymous account leaked what looked like private email exchanges between Kirk and network executives, suggesting he too had tried to shape the story and protect his own image behind Rashida's back. And that discovery turned the tables yet again, leaving fans to wonder if this was ever about truth, or simply about who could weaponize their lies the fastest. And in the middle of it, Rashida remained a storm gathering strength. Her silence sharper than any confession, her single symbolic photo sending the message that she was not just collateral, she was about to become the executioner. And with a reunion trailer already teasing fights, screams, walkouts, and someone storming off for good, the scandal had crossed into a new arena where nobody was safe, nobody was innocent, and the only guarantee left was that the next leak would not just shatter reputations, it would end them. So here we are standing at the edge of what might be the most explosive reality TV scandal of the decade, and the only thing more shocking than the leaks themselves is how fast the story keeps twisting. 1 minute Kendra is the broken-hearted victim. The next she's the mastermind puppeteer. 1 minute Kirk is the villain. The next he is the whistleblower, and Rashida, the quiet queen in the background, is suddenly holding the power of fire in her hands. So the real question is, where do we go from here? Because this is no longer about messy breakups or even reality show drama. This is about trust, manipulation, and the cost of playing games in the public eye. Do you believe Kendra was really plotting from day one, or do you think Kirk's receipts are just part of his own revenge campaign? Is Rashida finally ready to burn it all down and walk away? Or will she rise from the ashes as the unexpected hero? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this conversation is far from over. And if you want the next leak, the next voicemail, the next scandal dissected in real time, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the truth is still loading.